Hello, everybody. Due to various reasons, I'm not going to be showing my face on today's video, but I am going to be instead doing a sort of little sub-collection video where I show you some of the stuff that some of this stuff is stuff I've had I've gotten in recent days. Some of it is stuff I've had for a little while. But in any case, this is all new stuff, and I'm going to be showing you guys some of that. I'm trying to put out some new content for you. This whole year has been rough, and I've been sort of struggling to fill the gaps. You can expect some more first impression videos. Hopefully, some point this month you will get a proper episode. I'm really trying to get you some of that, but So this is the little sub-collection video. I don't know what I'm going to call this. So here we have the first Blur album, which is really interesting and really, it sounds kind of like the Stone Roses, kind of a little bit like My Bloody Valentine. You got some shoegaziness, you got some Manchester. It's good, but it also does kind of sound like everything else that was happening in Britain in 90, 91, and it's kind of jarring to hear Damon Albarn singing that kind of stuff. So Aretha Franklin, this album's great album. This is the first of, there's a couple albums in here, and I'll shout them out when I get them. I gotta give big thanks to a subscriber, and Mr. Daniel Moore, who sent me a whole bunch of stuff that he didn't need anymore. And I gotta give him a big thanks, because some of this stuff I didn't have. Some of this stuff I would probably never have gotten. There are some CDs that we'll get to that you probably would never have seen me review if he had not sent them to me. I've also been working on getting the better copies of all the Genesis albums. So we have the old remaster for Trespass, old remaster for Trick of the Tail. Another one I gotta thank subscriber for. This is Three Sides Live. This is an okay live album from the Phil Collins era. But the special thing about this album, and this version of this album in particular, I wasn't aware there was a CD version that had this, is the last five songs, Paperlight, You Might Recall, Me and Virgil, Evidence of Autumn, and Open Door, are outtakes from the Duke and Abacab sessions that were included on the original US version of this album, but then were deleted from all the subsequent CD releases. And those are some great songs that I'm really happy to have, so thanks for that. Another album that this album sucks. This album is awful. And for that reason only, you will almost definitely see me review this album at some point. But I probably would not have reviewed it if he hadn't ever sent that to me. And it's he sent me a lot of Jethro Tull. He sent me amongst them others. He sent A, which honestly I think A may even be worse than Rock Island. Some stuff that you all might not have expected me to have is the first Kanye West album. It's good, a little dated, and I'm possibly a bit overrated. But definitely some pretty cool stuff and really different from what was going on at the time. His second album, which is way better than the first, maybe not a common opinion, but I like it way more than I like The College Dropout. Some really, really good songs on that one. Touch the Sky. I love Touch the Sky. Crack Music is great. Addiction. The remix of Diamonds from Sierra Leone, some really good stuff on there. This one kind of, I don't know. This is like the proverbial kind of sellout album. This is dumbing down what made his first two albums really good. Just not very good. I shouldn't say that. It's good, but it's not very good. It's definitely probably my least favorite of what I've heard of his. But then he had some bad shit happen to him, and then he made this album, and it's all moody and experimental, and it has that song that South Park made fun of, and him being a gay fish. And this album's fantastic. This is like, I have a friend who calls this prog rap, and I definitely see why you would call it that. Really fantastic production, and let's face it, anything that samples King Crimson is going to be a winner in my book. Kendrick Lamar, another absolutely fantastic album. Speaking of absolutely fantastic albums, Kingdom Come from Arthur Brown. This is some wild early 70s prog. Like, if you like King Crimson, Pink Floyd, some Frank Zappa especially, you need to check out Kingdom Come, because Kingdom Come is wild. This is like intergalactic, like, travels and like pondering the meaning of life, and just there's this crazy moment on I think it's Creation where I had to like go back in and look at it and be like, is this how the song is supposed to sound, or is my CD scratched? Because it just devolves into like just like record skipping and noise and just insanity. And this buy this album today. We have another one from Daniel Moore, the Beginner's Guide to the Projects, which was this crazy like King Crimson fusiony instrumental freak out side project they did in between the Thrack band breaking up and doing the Construction of Light. And in my opinion, the projects are a million times better than the Construction of Light. That to me, that's what the projects should have been. The projects should have been the new King Crimson. You know, you should have released an album of just the projects as instead of the Construction of Light, because the Construction of Light to me isn't very good. Another thing from him, this is actually the next little bit is all going to be stuff I got from Daniel Moore. This is Kamara. This is I don't know anything about this band aside from that Pat Mescalado, again from King Crimson, is in it. It has a cool album cover. I haven't really listened to it, but I'm gonna have to in the future. And again, all this next stuff is Daniel Moore. This is Marillion. This is kind of a Genesis ripoff band, but they do develop their own identity. They're probably one of the best neo-prog bands. And this album, this is probably the most Genesis-y they ever got. Because Fish sounds like, he sounds like Peter Gabriel. But he also sounds like Peter Hamill. Like, if you had some of the vocals of Peter Gabriel and some of the mannerisms, and then you combine that with some of the mannerisms of Peter Hamill, that's kind of what Fish is like. This album is really, really good. The title track is obviously a highlight. Garden Party's good, and then Chelsea Monday and Forgotten Sons is great as well. I love the art. I guess that was the cover to one of their singles. Like, I love the Jester, and they just have this cool thing like a lot of 80s bands had going on that I love, where they have these little mascot characters. You have Fugazi's, their second album. It's kind of like Genesis, but also kind of not, all at the same time. It's got some good stuff. Assassin is great. She Chameleon, and then the title track is awesome as well. Misplaced Childhood. Great album. I haven't listened to it as much, but great album nonetheless. Bunch of great stuff on here. And then we have Clutching at Straws is the last album they did that had Fish on it. Some really good stuff on here. They drop some of the progginess and go their own way on this album, but it's pretty good. And the last thing from Daniel Moore, a Marillion live album from 1988 that I have yet to really listen to. I have heard that a lot of this was re-recorded in the studio, though, which is interesting. We have the Mars Volta, Francis the Mute, good Frank Zappa core / King Crimson core. You know, it's good, but it's also kind of like whatever. Because, I don't know. I'm tempted to say with all those bands like this, I'm tempted to just say that, you know, Frank Zappa did it better, King Crimson did it better, Yes did it better, but I don't know. I like the Mars Volta okay. Speaking of which, we have the Bedlam and Goliath. This one's a promo copy. I think all of these are promo copies because this one has the whole. This one looks like somebody put a drill bit through it, which is weird. And that you've got like the promo thing, and it's got a hole. So that's cool. The Francis the Mute is good pretty much all the way through, even though it's way too long. And then the Bedlam and Goliath is really good for about 3/4, and then it gets really boring, but kind of brings it back in the last hat. I don't know. The first NWA album, maybe controversially, I don't think this one is that good. I think it's about maybe a third to half of a good album, and I think there's way too much filler there. I don't know. I like it, but like some of it is like I do struggle a bit with that late 80s hip hop style. Honestly, I do kind of like this one much more. This is after Ice Cube left, and it has its faults. There's some stuff in the second half of this album that is just uncomfortable. Like it is so sexist, and it is so violent, and it is so nasty, where it's like, yeah, this makes me uncomfortable. But there's also some really funny stuff on here. Like some of the violence can be funny if you look at it as an exaggeration of reality. But there is this ridiculous cover of Automobile by Parliament where they change up a bunch of the lyrics, and the song I'd Rather F You is just, it cannot be taken seriously. Like, it just cannot be taken seriously, and it's just a lot of fun. The new Primus, I didn't have the CD when I did, so I'm going to show off the CD. This is how it looks. Really cool art. I dig the art. I think this is taken from the children's book that the overall storyline is derived from, but I'm not sure. In either case, the art is beautiful. You like have the goblins crossing like a precipice. They're like at the fringes of a valley. You have like all the life. The rainbow. Them in a cave. Whatever they're trying to do there. And finally, I assume this is after all the goblins have died. Or maybe at the beginning of it. I don't know. Anyway, cool packaging. I really like this album. To follow it up my review of it, I would say it's not as good as Green Naugahyde by any stretch of the imagination. I had a commentator who said that, like, yeah, I like this album, dude, but I think I'd like it a little less than you do, and I certainly don't think it's better than Green Naugahyde, and I kind of agree. Stay up there. Public Enemy, really good album, but like I said, I do kind of struggle with that really late 80s hip-hop style. Pulp, different class. This album is fantastic. Highly recommend. This is some top tier Britpop right here. Otis Redding, Otis Blue, amazing soul album. The Smiths, I like some of their stuff. This Charming Man is one of my favorite songs of the 80s, but I don't know. The album as a whole, The Queen is Dead, really good album. Almost certainly their best. I like a lot of these songs. The Queen is Dead, Frankly, Mr. Shankly, Cemetery Gates is great. Big Mouth, Strikes Again, There Is a Light That Never Goes Out. Good stuff, I think. Little insubstantial maybe. A Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory, really, really good. I realize I just skipped The Roots and St. Vincent, but that's out of order. The Roots, Do You Want More? Really good jazz rap with a live band. Really good, really fun. The next album, Illadelph, Half-Life, really, really good. Much more conventional, like 90s mainline hip-hop, but still really good. One thing I will say about both of these albums is that they are long. Like this is like something like 75 to 78 minutes long, and this is only moderately shorter than that. Now for the two St. Vincent albums I have. This is Strange Mercy. This and Actor are probably my favorite albums of hers. And you have the new one, which is really weird like style of packaging. I mean, there's no back, and the CD is in backwards. That is weird. I don't know. I like the new one more than I let on in my review of it, but I also don't necessarily like it as much as her old stuff. I like her when she was more like, I don't want to say generic indie rock because she wasn't generic indie rock, but I liked her when she was more indie rock. Overall, I still do stand by more or less the rating I gave it. This is like a 7 or 8 out of 10. I don't know. Good album, but I've liked other stuff by her more. And finally, we have the Van der Graaf Generator Collection. I love these guys. These are one of my favorite prog bands. Definitely check them out. I've only really discovered them in the last year, though. This is the first Van der Graaf album. This really isn't even a Van der Graaf Generator album, though. This is basically a Peter Hammill solo album because he recorded these songs mostly himself with using a couple other band members. This was supposed to be a solo album, but the record label, he was with a bad record label, and he had signed a bad deal, and so the guys at Charisma got him to do some stuff that I don't understand the finer points of it, but whatever it was that they did allowed him to basically get out of the bad deal he had signed with Mercury, I think it was, and to get in with Charisma, which is, of course, really good. So after that, they did the next album on Charisma. This is The Least We Can Do Is Wave to Each Other. This is in many respects, the first real Van der Graaf album. Absolutely fantastic. Some amazing stuff on here, especially After the Flood, Refugees, Darkness. And man, when after this they did H to He Who Am the Only One, which I have taken to referring to H to He Who Am the most pretentious album title ever. This album is fantastic. There's so much good stuff on here. You have Killer, like the definitive Van der Graaf song. You have The House with No Door, which is just the most depressing song about depression that you will ever hear in your life. Man, outside of Killer, which is this fun prog song, this entire album is just depressing as you can imagine. Like, this whole album is made of depression. It's wild. And then we have probably the best Van der Graaf Generator album, Pawn Hearts. You have 3 songs on here. One of them is like 23, 24 minutes long. You have Lemmings, Manorg, and A Plague of Lighthouse Keepers, and also some really fun bonus tracks too. Overall, amazing album. I cannot recommend that enough. Also got the expanded version, which, again, apparently this is a promo of A Time and a Word from Yes. So I don't know who dumped all of their promo stuff on the local store I go to, but someone did. This album is really cool. It's not the first Yes album you should check out. And again, I don't know what is up with prog albums and naked men on the covers, but that was seriously a prog thing. Look into it. But yeah, so that was my little collection of stuff I have here. Some of this stuff I've had before, some of it I brought with me to review. In any case, that was the video. I'm going to be getting back to you guys, hopefully with some more better content in a little bit. But until then, I'll see you.